y'all, it's your girl Hope, your TV movie bestie, and I watch good shit, and I'm currently watching Memory of a Killer. All right, let's get into this week's episode, episode 8. Now, y'all, strap your seatbelts on because this was a wild ride. I think this was the best episode so far this season. We only got 2 episodes left, and y'all, I can't wait. Okay, so we open up with Jeff having completed the nursery for Maria. He set up a beautiful little slideshow that features her mom, and she's very touched. And this is the calm before the storm, because this is about the nicest thing out the whole episode. Everything else is chaotic. All right, so we see Angelo. He's taking his jacket to get fixed. So, he's missing the button. So he takes it over and he's like, just let me know when you're finished with it. The guy says, okay. Now, meanwhile, Detective Woods, he shows up at Angelo's house because he's inquiring about this jacket. Because remember, Maria, she said, no, I don't think this is the right lead. My dad gets suits made by him and, he's just a regular old guy. So Detective Woods said, hey, Maria said you got a jacket made by this guy. Can I take a look at it? And so he's like, okay, sure. So he opens the closet. He shows him one jacket. Of course, all the buttons are intact. And Detective Woods says, okay, this is cool. Now, while Angelo was out dropping off his other jacket, he got a ticket on his Porsche. Angelo says, okay, would you like a glass of water? Sorry you didn't find whatever you were looking for. Detective Woods says no problem. So Angelo goes in the back to get some water. Meanwhile, the parking ticket is out. Detective Woods sees that it's on a black Porsche, and he's like, he got a Porsche. What now? So, because remember, the tip line, the lady said someone got into a black Porsche that had on that very expensive suit that was out in the woods where Block got killed. So Detective Woods is like, thanks for the water. All right, I gotta go. And Angelo's, all right, have a good time. And then he sees the parking ticket and he's like, I know he saw it. Keep that in mind. All right, now we go into Joe and Gilchrist. So Joe has been investigating Gilchrist to find out who that is. He finds out that it's a woman. She's a fixer, and she fixes things for the pharmaceutical company that Dr. Parks worked at, the same Dr. Parks that Angelo killed a while ago. This whole thing is about. Okay, so Joe is like, so you think Dutch been lying to us? And Angelo's just like, I don't know what's going on, but it's something about this Dr. Parks. So he's like, okay, you know what? Let's just focus on the next job we got. So they are trying to catch this gambler, his wife. The husband has been stealing from a company. He's been fleecing money. The wife, she's a big time gambler. They have this gambling game they go to. It's a $50,000 buy-in. So Angelo tells Joe, I need a seat at that table. I need you to get me in the game. So Joe's like, all right, I'm on it. No problem. Joe also tells Angelo that as he was investigating, Dr. Parks, Gilchrist, this address kept popping up. And so he says, you know what this is? And Angelo looks at it. He's like, nope, but I'm going to go find out. And so Joe is like, what if the ferryman is setting you up? He wanted you to find this address. What you going to do? And so Angelo's like, well, I'm still going to go investigate it, and I'm just going to be ready. So Joe's like, all right, cool. So we go to now Maria. Now, Maria, she's supposed to be going to yoga, get ready to have this baby. Instead, girl at the gun range every single day. Like, she getting damn good at shooting. So she's there with Detective Woods. He shows up. And y'all, Detective Woods comes and basically he goes into this whole story about him and Maria used to date, all this. And he's like, back in the day when you were leaving for college and everything, I told you should go, you should explore the world, do everything you want to do. And he said, I thought I was being the bigger guy. I thought I was doing the right thing, getting you out here to explore the world. And he said, I thought that you were going to go and then you were going to miss home and you were going to miss me. And then you would just come back. And so he was like, you did. But by the time you did that, you were already married, having a baby with Jeff. And he's like, I wish I had never even told you to go. Or I wish I had told you that you should go, but I wanted you to stay. And she's like, oh my gosh. Like, and so they have this sad moment where they're just like, what we gonna do? She married, she having a baby. Like, and so he said, you know what? I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said this. This was the wrong time. And she's just kind of like, okay. And I'm thinking, yes, just let it go. Like, this woman having a baby, you want her to leave her husband and her pregnant state? Like, bruh, just, zip it. You never should have said it. Just let it be what it is. Okay, anyways. Now we go to Angelo. He shows up at this address. So, nice neighborhood, nice house. He driving by slow, like, what is this? And this couple knocks on the window and they're like, hey. And he said, hey. And so they got food and they're like, this has happened to us. You drive around and you think, I'm not supposed to be here. And they're like, but you are. Come on in. And he's like, okay. And so then from the porch, a lady comes out and she says, hi. And she says, come on in. And he's like, what is going on? And so he said, all right. So he parks, so goes in. I'm thinking he had some kind of AA meeting or something. So he goes in. This lady says, hi, I'm Julia Parks. Parks again. And I'm like, is this Robert Parks' wife? So turns out, yes, she is. And this is a bereavement support group. And so Angelo, he comes on in and he's like, okay. So at this point, he's like, well, I can't leave now. And remember, they still got this job to do with this gambler, his wife, all this stuff. So Angelo calls Joe and he's like, Joe, I ain't gonna be able to make it back in time. You gotta go do the job. And Joe's like, what? No. Like, first of all, I've never even played poker, so that's not gonna work. And then second of all, I've never killed anybody, right? Like, and I'm thinking, Joe, what did you think this whole business was about? Like, yes, I know y'all have an Italian restaurant and that's y'all's front, but like, bruh, y'all killing people for a living. Like, you've been trying to get in, you've been trying to get Dutch to put you out there on the front lines. Well, the front lines is killing people. And now you talking about something, I'm scared, like, I don't think I can do it. Bruh, what have you been waiting for your opportunity for? So anyway, Angelo is like, Joe, you got to make it work. Like, you can do it. You're smart. Figure it out. So Joe's like, okay, I guess. So Angelo, he goes on into the support group. He's listening to everybody. And it actually turns out to be really therapeutic for him. He starts talking about his wife, he opens up to the group a little bit and they're like, oh, we're so glad to have you, Now we go back to Jeff and Maria. So Maria, she comes home from the gun range, having met with Detective Woods. And she's like, I'm sorry I'm late. Yoga ran late. And he's like, don't even start. And she said, what? And he said, I know you wasn't at yoga. And she's like, Jeff, what are you talking about? He's like, look, they called and they said your credit card expired, so I know you weren't at yoga. And she's like, oh, okay, let me explain. So, and he's like, I don't need to know where you were. I don't need to know who you were with. I'm just letting you know I'm here and I'm all in. And he's like, I can't wait to have this baby with you. I love you. I want to be here, but you need to decide what you want. And he's like, if you don't want this with me, let me know so that I can walk away. And I'm thinking like, how you gonna walk away when y'all got a baby on the way? Like, I mean, I get what he's saying, like walk away from the relationship, but you still are very much tied to her forever. So, okay. Now we go back to Joe. Remember, Joe's at the poker game. So Joe is nervous, but he's like, I got it. So they start playing. Joe completely BS's his way through this game. Like, and I don't know if he just learned it or he really knew a little bit or whatever, but Joe does a damn good job and he wins like $485,000 or something. Completely takes money from this guy who thought he totally had it. So the wife is there and she is very impressed by this because remember, she loves to gamble. So she's like, So after the game is over, Joe's in the bar. She comes up. She says, may I have a seat? And he says, oh yeah, I was hoping you would come over. So they start talking and she's like, you are very talented. Quite the bluffer. She's like a cheater. And she's like, I was very impressed. And so he said, oh, I just got lucky. And she's like, no, you was cheating, but okay. And so they get to talking and she has a very big ring on her hand. And so Joe's like, what's your husband, think about all this and where he at? And so she's like, oh, he gets to have fun and then I get to browse. And she says, so, he up doing his thing. And Joe's like, okay. And so she says, I tell you what, why don't I get us a room and you can come on up? And he's like, okay. And so, she leaves. And Joe's like, all right, he's ready. So Joe's coming up. He's coming up to the guy's room. He got his gun and he's ready. And then he's not. And Joe can't do it. And he just freezes. And so he calls Angelo and he's like, Angelo, I need you to come like right now. I need your help. And so Angelo's like, all right, I'm coming. So Angelo comes, they're in the elevator. He comes up and he's like, it's okay, Joe. Like, you'll get it. I guess you'll be able to kill people at some point. And so he's like, don't worry about it. I'll go in and finish the job. Angelo goes in. Now the guy says, whatever you're getting paid, I can make you a very wealthy man if you don't do this. And so Angelo's kind of like, yeah, I'm still going to do this. And so he's like, all right, just don't shoot me in the face. Angelo shoots him and that's that. Maria, she shows up to Detective Wood's office. And she basically tells him that she loves him. She's always loved him. And if things were different, she would completely be with him. And she kisses him. And so Detective Woods is like, so what's happening now? And she's like, but this is goodbye. And she says, I'm married. I'm having a baby. I already have a life. And there's no need to blow it up. And you confess your love to me, and I confess mine, and now we know it, but let's just put that away. And so he says, okay, and she leaves, and we just got this unresolved feelings, tension, whatever, in the air. Okay, now Detective Woods also heads on over to the shop where Angelo gets his suits and all this stuff made. So he says, I'm here to pick up a suit for Angelo Flannery, Angelo's supposedly last name. So the guy's like, nope, I don't have anybody by that name. And he's like, oh, okay, sorry. I was coming to pick up a jacket, needed some repairs. And so he says, now I have a Angelo, some other name. And he says, but I'm not ready to, give out his jacket yet because I still need to replace this button. And so Detective Woods is like, oh, okay. And he shows him the jacket and he says, but don't worry. Tell Angelo, I'm on it. I'll get it to him as soon as possible and I'll give him a call when it's ready. And so Detective Woods is like, okay, thanks so much. So now it's clear. Detective Woods, he done put all the pieces together and he knows Angelo is Block's killer. Okay, so next day, the shop guy calls Angelo and he's like, hey, your jacket's ready and you can come and pick it up. And so he says, I'm really sorry that I didn't have it last night when your friend came down here to pick it up. And Angelo's like, what friend? And so he starts describing the guy and Angelo's like, oh shit, this is Detective Woods. And so he's like, you know what? Don't even worry about it. Thank you. I will come pick it up later today. So now Angelo knows that Detective Woods knows that he's the killer. Angelo, he's at the house. Detective Woods comes over. Detective Woods gets out the car. He got a gun. Angelo got a gun. And I'm like, oh, what we about to do? So Detective Woods comes in and he's like, hey, I think I figured out who killed Block. And Angelo's like, okay. And he said, but I don't know if I should bring this evidence to the light, if I should, have this person arrested. And so Angelo's like, well, why wouldn't you do that? And he says, I got to thinking. He said, I tried to put myself in this man's shoes, that if somebody tried to kill my daughter, what would I do? And he said, I don't know. I might do anything. And he said, so I feel like whoever killed Block, they probably had a good reason. And maybe I should just let this become a cold case. Like Block wasn't that great of a guy. Not too many people are going to miss him. Like, what if I just let this go? So Angelo's like, yeah, that sounds good. And he's like, I know that must be a tough decision for you, but way to go. And so he's like, yeah, I think I'm doing the right thing. And so Angelo's like, all right, I appreciate that. And so they get up to part ways. And then Detective Woods goes, but there's this FBI agent, Agent Grant. That's the lady. And so he's like, she's a very smart woman. And she asks a lot of questions like she already knows the answers. And she's like a dog with a bone. She just will not let things go. And Angelo, he starts thinking back on all the times, all the conversations that he's had with her. And he's like, yeah, she is real smart. And so he's like, you know what? Thanks for the heads up. I'll keep an eye out for her. And so he says, all right. So they depart ways. Now we go to Agent Grant. So Agent Grant shows up to like a school, and she goes to pick up this little girl who has like been having a therapy session or something. The therapist says, the little girl, she's still not talking, but she is making improvements. And so she said, something terrible happened to her, and she's just processing it in the way that her little mind can, but that she's probably going to be okay. And she feels like she's slowly coming back to herself. And so Agent Grant is like, okay, you're right. She's been through a lot. I'm just glad she's making progress. So she gets the little girl. They go off and they head to the cemetery. So I'm thinking, what are they doing at a cemetery? And so the little girl is playing with this doll. And she's like, that was your dad's favorite doll. And so they go to this headstone. She tells her, basically her dad is a star. How stars are always out, even in the night when we can't see them. It's just that night is the absence of light. But, they're always there. They're always with us. That light that your dad had, it lives within you. Everything's going to be okay. And so the little girl, she's just kind of looking, still not saying anything. So Agent Grant, she has these flowers. She takes them, she places them on the grave. And she says, I love you. I miss you, son. And so her and the little girl, they start to walk away. And as they walk away, we see the headstone. Dr. Robert Parks. Y'all, Dr. Parks, the scientist, that's Agent Grant's son? Y'all, what? Plot twist. Plot twist. No wonder she's so invested in this case. She worried about her son. Like, what happened? Okay, so then we see a flashback where it's the funeral. So Julia Parks, who we've met earlier, the bereavement support group, she's there. They're at their house. Agent Grant, she goes upstairs. She's sitting with the little girl. The little girl's playing with these dolls. So one's like a white doll, one's like a black doll. And she says, you like these dolls? And she said, your dad used to love these dolls. And she said, this was his favorite one, which is the black doll. And she says, this doll right here decides if you go to heaven or hell. And she said, he loved Greek mythology. So these are Greek mythology dolls. And she says, whoever did this to your dad, they're going to pay. And she said, they're not going to get away with this. And she said, do you know who's going to make sure that they pay? And so the little girl says, who, Grandma? And so as she says that, she pulls a little tag on the doll and she says, me. And she looks dead into the camera. And the tag she pulls all the way out says, the Ferryman. Y'all, she's the Ferryman. Oh my gosh. Okay. So she's after Angelo. She knows everything. But how? Y'all. Okay. And also, shout out to Gina Torres, who plays Agent Grant. I love her and never saw her coming. I never would have thought she was the Ferryman. So now my mind is spinning to how she connected to all these other people. Is it because they've all committed crimes and she's the FBI agent and so she knows all their stories? Y'all, this show is good. I was always interested in this show. I always thought it was good, but I never knew it was going to be this good. It's really, really gotten good. We got 2 more episodes and I don't know what's about to happen. I'm scared for everybody because I like Angelo, but y'all, hell hath no fear like a woman scorned. And you took her son? She said, you take my son, I'm going to take your daughter. Ooh, y'all, I am ready. Okay, so what do y'all think? Did y'all guess that Agent Grant was the Ferryman? Okay. So, and what are your theories about this if you did? Also, let me know just what you're thinking about this show in general. Like, subscribe, follow. I'm on all the socials, your TV movie bestie, and I will see y'all for the next episode next week. Bye, besties.